It's Wednesday, the sun is shining bright. Gather round the speakers, it's a golden delight. Jack and Lisa at the helm, ready to inspire. Gold Fever Radio, it's a dream we all desire. So grab your gear, it's time to explore. Treasure awaits, adventures galore. Gold Fever Radio, where the legends begin. Golden stories and treasures, let the fun spin. Every Wednesday with Jack and Lisa by our side. Tune into the adventure, let the good times ride.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's Wednesday once again, Gold Fever Radio. Here we are, October, what is the date?
It's October 29th.
October the 29th. Welcome everybody. Look, my hair's a mess, you know. I should have looked in the mirror before started the show, huh?
Yeah.
Or
Well, here
got
we
a
are.
hat on.
As everybody can see, we are alive and well.
Oh yeah, alive and well. What a hell of a week this has been, huh?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me go into the chat room, see what's happening in here. Paul, hello, Paul. Mark Nye, hello. All's well. Karen Nye, hello. Look, they're on separate computers there. Julian Berry, hello. Daryl Lane, hello. Hey, we were just talking about you today, Daryl, with Scott. He's on his way to see you here soon. Mike B, yeah, Julian, yeah. Robert Porch, hello everyone. Hello. So what's happening, Lisa?
Well, I guess we should tell everybody what happened to us.
We got smashed. When was that?
Monday, two
Monday?
days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, we left the house, car loaded up to go down to Lake Havasu to play in the lake, and we got hit.
Yeah. Big time.
Big time. And so driving along and smacked into another vehicle that pulled out in front of us. And the scary thing, all the airbags went out and off. And it was, anyway, it was, Lisa had a ride to the hospital.
I did. And the ambulance.
But we're all here. I just got a bunch of cuts and bruises on me and stuff like that. But other than that, we're still functioning and still here so far. So that's the main thing that counts, huh?
This is true. Okay, so leaving that aside, do you want to do this or do you want to do this?
Well, we just talk about this real quick. So as we said that we were going to start a wheel. So we're going to start a wheel. You guys that are in here already got first access to that. It'll start in the morning. There is going to be 55 spots at $33 a spot. I'm counting at least 35 prizes. There's 3 metal detectors. There's a drone. There's a couple of these smart watches, walkie-talkie set, 10 different the gold backs, penning kits.
Dream Mat.
Well, the Dream Mat little 12-volt little things, leaf blower. This is a lot of the stuff that they have sent me over time to test and stuff like that. So it's all accumulated. So some of it's, been taken out of the boxes and demoed or did a video on. But so we just figured we'd just throw all that stuff in the wheel along with a bunch of other stuff. So anyway, so you guys that got a heads up, you guys know all about it. And I'll post the pictures and stuff like that tomorrow morning. But so there will be 55 spots, $33 a spot. Okay.
So you can pay with PayPal or call me.
Let's see. Justin saying, bummer. Hope it was an insured motorist. We believe it was. They had insurance on their paperwork, but so they're talking like probably the vehicle will be totaled, and that sucks when they total out your vehicle and you still owe money on it. So we don't know how that's going to use. Yeah, no use Gold Monster 2000 at this time. Hello, Brad. Yes, crap happens, but hey, you know what? We're still here. So, and Thomas, folks. Hello, Thomas.
Yeah. Okay, so today is National Cat Day. It's also National Oatmeal Day. It's National Internet Day and National Hermit Day, which is good for those people who are on the internet.
Hermit?
Hermit, not hermits.
No, a hermit like lives in a cave?
Yeah.
Oh, then why is that good if they on the internet? That means they're not a hermit?
Because they can be a hermit and be on the internet. It's all goes together because they don't have to be seen by anybody.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Famous birthdays today. Edmund Halley. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
Halley's Comet.
Halley's Comet. Halley's Comet. Okay, but yeah, okay.
Charles Ebbets.
Don't know who he is.
Charles Ebbets was the co-owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers, and they named Ebbets Field after him. And then when the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, they tore down Ebbets Field and they made the Ebbets Field Apartments.
Oh,
They made a big
that.
apartment complex. Fanny Bryce.
Don't know who that is.
She was Ziegfeld Follies. Barbara Streisand did a movie. She played her. Richard Dreyfuss, the actor Richard Dreyfuss from Jaws.
Yeah.
Kate Jackson.
Okay.
Dan Castellaneta, he's Homer Simpson. Winona Ryder. Gio Benitez, he's a reporter on ABC. And Kat Timpf.
Yeah, we know who she is.
Yeah.
Okay. Karen and I got a chance to pan out her stuff. Got a little picker in there. That's cool. Billy Z, hello. Okay. Is that it? We got a guest tonight.
We do.
We do. There was a lot of people was asking about that. You remember that magnet thing that I separated all my black sands with?
Uh-huh.
There were a ton of people that asked about that. I'm wondering, let's see if I've got, let me see if I can do something real quick, okay? I'm going to play something real quick, okay? Just to give everybody an idea what this is right here.
Out in the wild where the rivers run cold, searching for treasures, I'm on a roll. Metal detector, it's buzzing so loud. Finding that gold makes me feel so proud. Every discovery, it's a brand new day.
Anyway, so that's the inventor of the magnet thing. So he's going to talk to us and tell us all about everything. So let me bring him in to the conversation here. Okay, there we go. Hello.
Howdy, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Mr. Colter Young himself,
Yeah.
that, Mr. Mining Magnets, man. How you been, bud?
Oh man, I've been doing well. I've been busy. Life happened. So, just kind of taking one day at a time, but yeah, still making 3D printed stuff, and thought, it would be a good time to, reintroduce some of the older products. I had to redesign this separator, and I just re-brought it back to the market, and I just thought I'd just start sharing the word. I get a lot of phone calls about this thing, so just letting people know that it's available again.
That's cool. I don't know if you saw a couple of videos I posted on it, but it got pretty popular, and everybody kept wanting to know where to get it at. I just kept saying mightymagnets.com, mightymagnets.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to call me and say, dude, stop giving out my.
Well, no, well, we got a small crew working on these now, making batches consistently. So, we could fit the demand if folks want them. It's kind of just trying to keep people at bay, that really need them. A lot of times I try to convince people that they don't need magnetite collector, and let them convince me that they actually need one, because it's such a small use case for a tool like this, and there's cheaper options out there. So it's not a good fit for everybody, but it works well for what it does.
Well, I think that like I know, like I see that blue one there. I think it was an older one, is what somebody had when we was up at dredging, and that's when I first saw. It wasn't as big as the other one, and I thought, man, that is really cool. And when you get a lot of black sands, there's different things you can do with with the black sand. I mean, yeah, you're right. Somebody just, dry washing and they got a little bit of teaspoon of black sands, and that's probably not going to help them out. But if somebody's got, 5-gallon buckets full of concentrates, and there's a lot of black sands in that, and some of these desert washes and that, and then that's your enemy, is that black sands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I'd like to emphasize is that not all black sand is magnetic. And so with this tool, we're targeting specifically magnetite. There are, all kinds of darker minerals that get confused with magnetite all the time. I get folks buy one of these things from me and they call me back, hey, this thing doesn't work at all. And, after I figure out, is the motor spinning and that, do we get damaged in shipping? And then they show me a video and they say, hey, this stuff sticks to a magnet, but it doesn't work through your magnetite collector. And so turns out it's usually 99.9% of the time they have hematite or some other mineral that's associated with iron that's slightly magnetic when you use a stationary bar magnet. But the real use cases that we're seeing most specifically is iron ore, copper gold deposits where they're separating out magnetite specifically. We're seeing like refractory size gold that they could take out and separate and process uniquely from the hematite and the other minerals. Also, I see a lot of labs, prospecting labs buying these. They want to know the percentage of magnetite is in the ore body, or this allows them a real quick way to just isolate the magnetite. There are a large portion of people that purchase this item for concentrate cleanup. And so if you're in an area with a high magnetite, Idaho is a real good example, Utah, Montana, some places, Arizona, Nevada, those washes are high magnetite concentration. So it works well for taking out a large bulk of the black sand. But then I recommend using like a super concentrator sluice or something. I like to assess each use case to see if the individual could just get away with just a concentrator sluice, because you could get a lot of bang for your buck with something like that. And a lot of guys, they're just starting out, they're just trying to use something, find a tool that works. And this isn't really a magic bullet. It doesn't really solve everybody's problems. It's kind of a unique thing. So that's why I always push most of the customers to the the sluices that are manufactured within the network of vendors that I work with. So though that's kind of the the market in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, I've got, I don't know, probably 3 gallons of black sand, and it's just been sitting for years, and you can't pan that stuff out. It would take me, forever to try to pan that, and a lot of that black sand is heavier than the gold is. And so what I have found is by using this, it does. I mean, I can't believe how it can separate. And I've even ran it through twice, and the second run maybe gets a little bit more, but not very much at all. It pretty well does it the first time. So what I'm working on now, and this is something, so I'm separating my black sands. Once I get a bunch of black sands, I'm going to fracture it or crack it in the pan to release all this gold, and then I'll run it back through there again, and hopefully the gold will all go to the one side and the black sands all do the other side.
So, yeah, no, that's a great example of how you could use that. And then you learned a little bit about your material. Where is it? Where's the gold coming from? Is it the magnetite, or the other stuff? So
yeah, I think like you mentioned, it's magnetite and hematite, and I think majority is probably, like most places, it might be 85-90% magnetite and then 10% hematite.
yeah.
So majority of it you're going to get out, but you're right, that black other black sand is the hematite you're not going to collect. But that will be easier to pan because that'll be very little of that. So other than that, it's mercury, and I play with mercury a lot, and so I have found that this device kind of takes away the process of playing with mercury.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And that's kind of the hope, it's, I think, in general, we're, as miners and, people that are aware of kind of what it takes and what the implications are on the environment, to take a look at, clean processes, and make this technology available to the small miner, even hopefully the artisanal guys. I mean, imagine if you could replace, the mercury that's draining down in the Amazon and Peru. That, it's a place loaded with gold, yet they can't mine because it's illegal, and the illegal miners are,
Oh,
forced to do it, you know, with chemicals or mercury, and that stuff gets into the environment. So, magnetic technology, new, smaller sluices, high bankers, that stuff, that's just not available in some places. So, we've got a little bit of an initiative pushing that direction as well. I've seen some interest in that respect.
okay. Let's see. Steve is in there. Steve. Hey, Steve, you need to text me when the meeting is. I don't know. I have to watch and see it. Daryl Lane says he uses one of your handhelds. Uh, so it had to be several years ago when I was up dredging there when I saw that little mech. So how long have you been producing these? What got you wanted to produce these in the very first place?
Well, so the model that I'm currently selling, um, it's it's kind of a a merge of what people have, wanted, what people have needed. I take a lot of feedback from the industry, and with the 3D print technology, I'm allowed to, or I'm capable to, basically produce any shape that I can imagine. And so it's easy for me to keep changing the design, based on what folks, are requesting. And originally, um, this design was made for a tabletop unit, called the Roly Poly. Basically, it's a magnet that spins, and I can do a demo here in a minute on it. And it basically influences the magnetite particles. And the magnetite particles, when they're formed down in the earth, they have a north and south pole on the particle themselves. So a magnet will have an influence on that, and it'll have a directional influence. So if you change the direction of the magnetite will flip just like another magnet. So north, 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 south, south, north. They always line up. And so if you create a rotating magnetic field, essentially you're inducing a alternating magnetic field to the magnetite, which turns it into a small motor. And so based on that technology, you're essentially able to create a magnetic river. And so I was using this sort of technology underneath a gold pan, where you would put the magnetite and then induce the current, and then basically it moves all the magnetite to one side of the gold pan. And this is basically a tabletop unit. I got requests to make all different styles, all different designs, and some of them I can't make, and some of them I can. There's other companies out there that make magnetic tools, that I have to sort of, stay within their bounds, um, and of their IP. So essentially, this new design, is a version of a product that essentially allows this to be used in not a batch form, but like a through process, where a pan would be a small batch and you do it in a small batch, where a through process is you would just be dumping something in and then walk away, and then it just goes through the machine. And so I had a lot of requests to take this technology from a batch process to a through process, and that's where you'll see, this style. Um, and essentially, it starts as a base unit where all you do is dump material into this funnel. Um, the the internal workings are very similar to this. And so when the magnetite drops into that magnetic zone that I was talking about, it creates a magnetic river and brings it over to the other side. And um, after that, I got a lot of requests. Can you have a way to feed it at a consistent feed rate so that I can dial in my materials and flow rates for a larger piece of equipment. And so then I came up with this feed auger, which is DC powered, controlled with a DC controller, which increasing the voltage in the DC increases the speed of the motor. And when you increase the speed of the motor, you get more throughput of material or material, sample material, but it's also very consistent in the sense that you're getting an exact dosage per unit time. So it allows for a really clean separation. When I use this thing, I do a lot of prospecting myself. When I use this thing, I'll just load it up and then go mow the lawn or something and come back, and it's just ready to go. And so that's sort of the evolution of the product in the sense that that it complies, and with the other technology, and that it just works right out of the box. Um, to be honest, a lot of frustration comes from, you know, buying new equipment and having to run to the hardware store 2 or 3 times. And so I try to gear my products to a real, out of the box experience and be able to get, something to work the first day. And in these line of products here are just a really good fit. They work with my production line. I'm able to manufacture them with my 3D printers, and got a good solid crew of guys, that can put them together and you know ship them out.
So I wanted to ask you on the one that you got the motor up above with the auger. What's the ideal? Is there an ideal number or setting to have that on?
Yeah, actually, this is. I'm glad you asked me because the feed rate essentially can deter. It can be is deduced by the amount of material that you're this. So let's say the material is 100% magnetite. Well, the magnetite collector can only remove, let's say, like a teaspoon of magnetite per per second. And if you put 2 teaspoons on, then 1 teaspoon will go right by it without the magnet doing anything. So if you have less magnetite in your sample, let's say it's 5%, well, you can pretty much just dump that stuff, completely in the machine, and the magnet will collect it no problem. And
Oh,
so the speed is based on the percentage of magnetite.
I've been setting it like 243. That's where I've kind of been putting it at.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, if you don't know anything about it, you could just eyeball it. Just, it's really intuitive. You can just kind of set it. Oh, that looks like you're getting too much. It's getting clogged up or whatever, and then you're good. My camera's going all crazy on me here.
So I can tell you're on
Yeah,
a green screen or
there we
something.
go. Anyways,
Cool.
Let's go. Still there?
Yeah. Still there. Are you there? Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anything else you wanted to know about the product?
Uh, yeah, you're going to demonstrate it for us.
Yeah, that's right. Let me get
So
let me
you
get this
do.
one here.
So you do. Okay. So this what you got right there is the what's that called? The Boss Buddy.
Actually, this one is something we're it's brand new. I'm just doing some testing here in my warehouse or in
Oh, I
my
see what.
shop
Oh,
here.
that's going to be awesome. I see. That's got a drop down
Yeah,
another. Oh.
yeah. It's got a it's got
Oh.
two different mats in it, and it's got the combo mat, and it's got
Oh.
that duck-bill buddy feeder that we've been using, and then I got replaceable screens here, and then it's got this new mat. Actually, this isn't even the new one. Prospector's Dream just came out with a brand new. It's called Micro Dredge Mat. This isn't it.
Yeah,
I
you
don't think you
can't.
can see it. Actually, it's green. So I
Yeah.
might have green
Yeah.
screen.
That disappeared.
Um, yeah, it's anyways, they're making a special one for this product right here, the special size and everything. So I'm waiting on that to test it. I know it works really good. They sent me one of the new mats for the buddy, and I played with that. That was awesome. It worked really well. And
Well, when you get that going, I need one of those machines right there.
well, I'm actually designing it
That's
for a
awesome.
whole bunch of attachments. It's a bigger unit. Let's see, let's put it here. It's a bigger unit, so I'm able to put stuff. I'm thinking we're gonna probably do like a feeder, an auto feeder. We've also got some technology that we don't even want to release quite yet. That's going into it. That's sort of in the theme of whatever else I make. Um, and so that I just it's just kind of here set up. I'll just kind of walk behind the camera and grab the other units. So these are the units that I lost the light. These are the units that I'm manufacturing for Prospector's Dream. I guess you can't see the green mat in it because the green screen, but so these are kind of the idea, the inspiration for this new version here. It's just kind of the natural progression. What's next. Um, So those are kind of things that we're testing, collaborating with. Here's the buddy. This is the buddy sluice. So I manufacture all this stuff, the 3D print stuff for Prospector's Dream. They put the pumps and the mats in and market it and sell it. But I've been very busy manufacturing those items and kind of really scaled up my operation to accommodate that. And now that we've got a nice scaled up operation, we're just starting to do the magnetic tools again.
How many 3D printers do you got?
I have a warehouse full of them.
Well, see,
Yeah.
there's mine right there. Mine only got this a bed like about this big.
Well, I tell you what, I had 5 3D printers for the first 3 or 4 years of my company. And they were just Ender 5 or Ender 3s. You could buy them on the, Alibaba for $150, and I mean it was, they did the trick. Nowadays the 3D printing technology, it's so much better. you just put a file in and hit print. Almost no matter which printer you buy, it works.
Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass to do a lot. So so you've got printers probably running full blast 24/7.
Yep. I got 2 shifts of people that come in, one in the morning, change out the printers, and then one in the evening, change out the printers, and then we work 8, 10 hours on Saturdays too.
No wonder you never answer your phone.
I I, I get so many emails and phone calls, and I feel so bad that I can't get back to every single person. It's just hard when you're running a company. Honestly, every day is a Monday for me.
Okay, I got an idea for you. As we all know, black sands is the enemy in the deserts, or basically any place. So when we dry wash, if we once our riffles fill up with black sand, you're pretty well done, because the
Right.
gold ain't going to go through the black sand and you're going to lose it. So can you make a device that you can put over your riffles that'll pull the black sand out, auger it over, and dump it on the ground or into another little feeder tube or something, and take it out of the way before the
Yeah.
material actually comes down over the sluice?
Mhm. Yeah, actually, yeah, for sure. I don't know if it's on my website anymore. I used to make this thing called the X1 separator, and you could just dump in wet or dry material, and it would just separate it out, very similar to the one this plastic ones, but they were made out of metal. I also do manufacturing for larger size mines. They require either stainless or aluminum. Um, Different fabrications, like welded up versions of these. So I used to sell this one called the X1. I think Paul Jarvis on what's he got? What's his got this channel. He's out of Canada. Adventures in Gold Prospecting. I sent him one, and he did a bunch of reviews on it. And that would work. You could just dump it right in there, and it would suck out all the black sand. Very similar to the magnetite collector, but it would just dump it right into the dry washer. Yeah. So I mean, we could talk about that. Yeah, for sure. I can bring one of those down. We can play with it.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I mean, if there was just some device that would, so generally most riffles are maybe 12 inches or 10 inches, the box. And if you could find something to attach it onto the box, and then it would pick it up and take it out of your box
Yeah.
completely, just take it out as the dirt comes down.
Yeah.
It just pulls that blacks. That way you could run a lot longer because your black sand.
Sure. Yeah, it would have to be magnetite, but if you're in an area with high magnetite, no, that would increase your runtime significantly if that's your issue.
There was a guy,
and like I said, I could probably bring one of those things out, try it out.
There was this guy years ago. I don't know how many years ago. What, 20 years ago? Remember, what's his name? The little kid, the little guy that bought the store.
Oh, Casey.
Casey. He made these magnets that you'd clip into like a sluice box or something, and he used earth magnets, and you could put them. But once they're full, you constantly had to pull them out and clean them, clip them back in. So you're constantly dealing with the magnet problem. Whereas if it had an auger feeding, where it's constantly just getting rid of itself, then you wouldn't have to, keep stopping and pulling the magnet out. Yeah.
There's always that's kind of the issue of batch or through process. Like I was saying earlier, is that doing something like that, it's like a batch process, and it only works until it's full. Where using a continuous magnet would create a flow that if you could match the flow of magnetite with the flow of the ore you're putting in, you could essentially remove it at the same speed as you're putting it in.
So you're going to show us a demo?
Hopefully loading up your riffles with gold.
No, you're going to do a demo or something? Show us how it works.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could try to do something. Let me. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to move the camera a little closer to the table, and then I'm gonna switch it around to the other camera. I don't know if it's a good idea while doing the live stream, but give me 1 second. You want to put me in the chat or the backstage for a second?
Not that one right here.
Yeah.
Okay, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. So he'll give us a demo. Let's see who's jumped in there. Wayne, just use a small shop vac and suck up black sands from the riffles and keep going. Yeah, you'd have to constantly be sucking up that there. Steve, oh, what's that, a fly? Steve Blevins, hello. Neil Young. Hey, we were just talking about you the other day, Neil Young. Apparently you talked to the people up there from Maine in the green van. Okay. I can't see when you're ready. Just give me a high five there when he's ready to go there. Who did I miss? Is that everybody?
I don't know. Go back up a little bit.
Go back up.
Yeah. Yeah, you got everybody.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Alrighty. So he's setting up to show us a demo of how these magnets work. So if you guys haven't seen the videos, I've posted some videos on Facebook. It's really a sweet design. I really kind of like it. And I've got some good plans to do some other stuff with it. But his website I know is mightymagnets.com. So people that want to know about that.
Okay, so we sent out the newsletter the other day. So if you have not received it, just let us know and I will get the newsletter out to you. But we did send them all out.
Let's check back in and see if he's got it ready to go.
All right.
Are you ready to go?
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Can you guys hear? Can you hear me again? I'm just gonna have my hands in the shot here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
What do my solar?
Let's see here. Really a good spot to put it right there. Really hard to see with a little tiny view here. I'm gonna work through this camera. So here's the roly-poly classic design I've had for a long time, and it's been a really good design. Just sort of bulletproof. And so the way this guy works is it's just mounted to the table. You can mount it to whatever you want to mount it to, but I recommend to put it on a table and use a set of screws or something like that, just to get the machine bolted down. It's got a really strong magnet, so if you were to use this, like a huge pile of magnetite, like right in here, it's essentially like holding a piece of iron near a magnet, and there's going to be a lot of force here. That's strong, So if you're not used to it, I'd like to suggest to bolt it down. And then I've got a little non-metallic gold pan, just a standard gold pan, nothing special about it. And what I always like to do for a demo is I just like to tell people, just start with just a tiny little bit of magnetite, just that's probably enough to play with. And then what we'll do is we're just going to plug it into the power supply. Turn on. Now you can hear it. This is one of the older versions. The newer ones don't make near that noise. So I just don't want to get one out of the box. So excuse the noise.
Pretty color.
Right. All right. So I'll bring the magnetite closer to it and you'll start to see it interact. Now, did you see that? How that works just like that?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so this is sort of one of the products that I would recommend people to buy if they were, just getting started out and they don't want to invest, $450 for a tabletop unit that, requires, a $3,000 dredge to generate material for. a dry washer or something. So if you're a guy that's out panning the river and you come back with just a little bit of cons, a tub full of them, this is a good unit for that. And I'm just gonna mix some of this stuff together. So I've got the black sand, and then I've got the non-metallic black sand, or blonde sands. And you can see that there's also all kinds of different colors in here. It's all minerals, tons of minerals in there. I couldn't even begin to describe, exactly what that is, but it's not magnetic. So the way I'm going to separate those two from each other is I'm just going to go ahead and turn on the device.
That's pretty slick, though.
Yeah, just pulls it right out of there.
Does that work wet or dry, or just dry?
Oh yeah, it works wet too.
I just happen to have some water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
I did just happen to have some water. But yeah, it works just as well. But one thing you want to do is make sure you have a little bit of water over the material, or it won't work. So you have to have at least an inch of water over the material.
See, now once that's out, you can just take a regular magnet, plunger magnet or anything, and just reach in there and pull that all. Yeah, exactly. Get rid of that.
Yep. And then if it's wet though, you can just do what I do is you just get it on one side and then just pour it off like that. You could get that and it won't go anywhere. Just like this, it's stuck, and then you could just pour this stuff off as long as it's dry up here. That's what I usually do. But you can use the magnet just like this. Gets it all right off.
It won't carry the gold with it, but it can pinch the gold to take with it, so you don't throw that stuff away if there's gold in there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big question, like a lot of people say, gold rides an iron horse. And, really what that all kind of boils down to is that the precious metals and gold and silver and all that stuff, it comes, down deep, from the mantle, and that's what's mafic, which is described as like iron and like manganese or something. So essentially all the minerals that are coming out of the middle of the earth, are coming with the iron, and it's the enrichment, as it travels, up through the earth that makes the nice ore body. But the source, is very closely related to the source of the magnetite. So there's been a lot of kind of initiative in going after the gold that's in the magnetite. I've heard stories that the Chinese are just buying our magnetite for 50 cents a pound and laughing the whole way going back to China with whatever chemicals that they're allowed to dump in their rivers, and turning it into gold. That's all speculation, but it's nice to know if there is gold. I do get a lot of customers that send me samples that buy these machines that actually are finding gold, and are able to basically use this as a small scale model of how they're going to use their larger production facility. And being able to isolate magnetite, if that is the case, like I said, in iron ore, copper, gold deposits, or stuff like that, where magnetite's prevalent, hematite's prevalent, you have better concentrations depending on how it's going to be processed. And And so that's the biggest interest so far.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you mentioned it earlier, and that's generally how we locate gold deposits is the iron, whether we're out in the desert and you're looking for the red stained dirt or something, where there's a lot of iron, because that is where the gold is at. And that's one reason why
Yep.
we tend to run into a lot of the black sands, is because of just that reason right there.
Yeah, sometimes though I've found I've had issues with it being that straightforward, especially in like the Carlin district in like Nevada and some places where there's a lot of limestone, and there's like what's it called, serpentinization or whatever, and most of the magnetite actually gets altered. And so if you're in that, halo there, then even though you're in a zone that should have a lot of magnetite, it's actually been altered to like hematite or whatever. And that's where you see a lot of the red, that comes out because of that alteration. But so I was just gonna set up real quick and do this little guy, a little run here. I don't want to do a demonstration with gold, but what I was going to do is I'm going to separate out blonde sands from magnetite, and so the way I like to do it is I just like to set the separator up, this magnetite collector up, and we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to demo it. I guess first thing I'll just do is set it up right here, show you how I set it up, and then I'm going to bring the camera in a little closer and we'll look at it real quick. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get something to dump this all in, mix it up. I just got my pan all wet. Get bigger. It does get bigger. Hey, I found out how to make my screen bigger finally. Okay, so get the camera down a little bit more. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to dump this in here. Then, okay, then you can see that it's, not really that mixed up. I'm gonna
What
mix
mesh
it up
did
the
you
best I
take
can.
that down to?
So, yeah, that's a great thing to talk about. I like to run if I'm going to run it through the auger, I'll take it down to like a 30 mesh. If I'm going to run it just through the funnel, I'll do like a 12 mesh, a little bit bigger. But the auger is designed for more of a smaller size grain. So I always separate it out and then run two batches, because it's usually most like 99.9% or 80% this big, and then just a little bit this big. And that's what I had earlier, that stuff that I showed you in the pan. Out of both these cuts, this was the larger stuff plus what was in that gold pan, and then this. So it's usually mostly this size. I'm going to mix it up, and I'm just going to pour it in here. So this is the point where it's probably a good idea to have a respirator or a dust collecting system. If you do this, it's not a big deal if you're going to do it, every once in a while. But if you're going to be working around silica dust all day, it's a good idea to have some ventilation, and this has the potential to generate dust. So with that sort of disclaimer, also just to let you know that if you have like a pacemaker or any sort of medical device, it's probably not a good idea to be handling any of this stuff. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just making you all aware that there's magnetic fields here. So I guess with that all being said, what I always like to do is turn on this device first and make sure it's basically like you want to turn on all the downstream devices first, sort of like a stoplight. You don't want to release the first cars and then run them into the cars that are stopped and then turn those cars on. You want to have all the cars downstream started up before you release the upstream one. So this is downstream, this is upstream. So I'm going to turn this guy on first. And to do that, I'm just gonna plug it into a straight, I think 12-volt power supply, and it's just gonna run at 1 speed. Okay, so now that that's running, I'm gonna plug this power supply with a voltage regulator that we had plugged into this. I'm plugging into this. And then I'm gonna turn it on real slowly. And can you guys see a little bit of material going out? Hopefully. Let me get the camera.
Has it started
And
going out?
There it goes. There it goes right here.
See it?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, okay, yeah. See all that black sand in there spinning? That's cool.
like get the light on. No, no light. Um,
That's such a cool machine. I love playing with it. But yeah, I noticed it yesterday when I was playing with it. There is the dust, and I had to keep blowing so I could see the bottles filling up. But yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I'm going to the doctor's tomorrow to get some X-rays because I think I've got silicon dust in my system over the years.
well, this mirrored camera is kind of funky. I'm having a hard time. Well, that's kind of the device, you know. I just kind of let that run for a little while, and you know, just kind of go. I'm gonna put it back on the tripod. There's not really much to it once you get it set up and running. Really, it just sort of, yeah, this green screen's just wonky right now. I'm having a hard time getting it in focus.
No,
Sorry about all that, guys.
No, we can see that. So, do you get out and do any prospecting yourself?
I do, yeah, I do. Turn this off. It's hard to hear myself. Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in California, kind of mother lode country over sort of. Let's see, wrong button. Trying to switch screens again real fast. Give me one second. I'm just gonna switch to the other screen so I can see myself again. Camera back. There's my garage. There we go.
Cool.
Okay.
Danny, I see Danny. Danny says hello. Cool magnet. Cool.
Ooh. Get a little bit more comfortable here. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, you know, kind of dealing with some local friends in California. I'm from Idaho, but I travel there quite a bit. I've got a friend with some property near Yosemite National Park, and got some friends up near Redding, California, that we spent a lot of time looking at maps and looking at like USGS models, and we're getting into a couple of hard rock projects where, oh, well, it's kind of a long story, but we're essentially going in and trying to, you know, reopen up a plan of operations that this lady's family had started. It's a really sweet location, known for a awesome gold bearing area. The geology's perfect. It's like a geologist's dream. You know, she's got miles and miles of open tunnel, ore carts, just float all over the mountain, and really good documentation of her mines, maps of her mines, samples of locations, samples of each spot. so I tend to spend a lot of my time just like reading about prospecting, reading about minerals and understanding like the USGS reports. I could say that I started reading those type of reports about five years ago, and you read it and it's just amazing when you go back and read it again 5 years ago, and each one of those little words or each part of every single word has got its own paragraph attached to it. um I don't know if that makes any sense, but every time I reread a USGS publication, I always find something that I missed from before. And so that's kind of where we're spending a lot of our efforts as far as prospecting is basically understanding the structure of the earth and the geology that created the conditions to produce ore bearing fluid. Also, for a while I was going down to the mines in the Carlin district, like Nevada gold mines, and got to see everything that they do, which is insane to think about. The way that they process their material, the amount of energy and heat and you know chemistry that goes into breaking down the rock into a form that can be leached out is just crazy. And at the scale they're doing it at, it's and have the danger of being out there. It's all MSHA um regulated, so nobody can do anything unless they've been site trained. We have to have radios out in the truck. You have to be 200 feet away from the haul trucks, and you can't be near the open pits because they're doing open pit mining out there, which is crazy. If you look at a map, they have you know like 50 mines out there between those conglomerates, that mining company, and to see the size of holes that they're digging in the ground. And you just look at the price of gold, and some of the small time mining, all the hurdles that you go through and all the rules and regulations, and there's such a big gap between a large mining company and a small mining company, and what a bunch of lawyers can afford. It's just insane. A lot of people say you can't mine anymore. Yeah, right. They're mining the hell out of this place. And it's just crazy to work with those geologists there, and learn about the precautions that they have to take. I've got a guy on staff that analyzes map data for me every Saturday, and he's a geotech from Nevada Gold Mines. I recruited to do all the interpretation. So we spent a lot of time making models and having him, help me, you know, decipher it to the customer. Um, and so yeah, it's crazy, like the scale of mining out like in the Carlin district. It's if they need more gold, they just you know turn the machine up.
So they leach,
it,
or you got all the big leach fields and all of that.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. It takes almost 20 years, I think, before the leaching is completely done. And so what they do is they, basically dig a open pit down into the ground, and that all that material is low. It's close to the surface, so it's already been oxidized. So essentially, and it's not like a lime. It's like a limestone, sort of dirty clay material that's been like altered by hot fluid, and then what happened is arsenal pyrite formed, and then it got more hot fluid, and the gold molecules attached to the arsenal pyrite, and then arsenal pyrite came again. So you have this kind of like a microscopic particle with arsenal pyrite, gold, pyrite, this kind of this little shell there. It's plentiful. I mean, it's literally miles and miles and miles the size of the deposit, and they barely scratched the surface if you follow the trends. There's 3 giant trends in the area. And what they're doing is they're coming out, and the stuff close to the surface has been oxidized all the way. So it's basically like turned to hematite almost. Like you don't have to roast. All they have to do is roast it. So they send it to a machine, they break it up, they crush it all up, then they roast it, and that's basically kind of like what we would do. We'd roast it, and then and it's relatively inexpensive process to do that. And so what they're doing is I think they can produce it like 4 grams a ton or some number that they told me profitable, and anything after 4 grams a ton is profit, or something crazy like that. It was just wow. And they were, I think the statistics, and you can look this stuff up all online. I think the statistics are that they're getting 14 or 20 ounces or 20 grams per ton or something like that. So it's 4 times the amount of money they need to go in, and they're able to just process as much as they can. I mean, the infrastructure though, it's barely holding on. I mean, and that's what I was going to get at is that these mines, they go down into the ground, and then once they get so far down, they get out of that halo of alteration because the oxygen can't get so far. So the ore actually becomes different. It's higher grade, but it's not processed. So they get down as far as they can, and then once they got the big open pit, then they start tunneling. And what they do is they tunnel, and then they fill that tunnel completely full of crushed up rock, and then make it into concrete. And then they drill a tunnel underneath that tunnel because that concrete is actually more stable than the rock above. So they're safer going under the concrete. So cement paste, they call it. So they just basically take out a huge layer, go underneath it, take out a huge layer. They've identified the ore zones, the ore bodies, um, and then they extract all that stuff through a portal up to the top, big conveyor belt, and then they load these giant haul trucks, like as big as your house, and they'll just drive them down the road to depending. And so that material, when that comes out, is like jet black. It's like mineral blackness. It's different looking. And they run it and they crush it up, and then they run it through this machine called an autoclave, which is basically describes the process where they heat it up to like 700 degrees, like lower the pH to 0, enter in liquid oxygen, and whatever else bad stuff that you could do to a rock, they do it to it, and literally it changes it just what nature does in 15 million years in 5 minutes. And so they only really do this to that really high ultra grade ore, pull it out, and then the leaching happens. So you got those 2 supplies, right? The roasted stuff and then the autoclave stuff, and that stuff then gets put into a mountain that they have like a plastic little basin, right? Like a pool kind of, it's really lined with 4 different liners with detectors underneath each liner and escape routes. And then they have a mountain, literally the size of the hole that they dug. And now they have a mountain with sprinklers on top. And they run like cyanide and different solutions into this like permeable rock mass that basically essentially grabs onto the gold and cyanide particles. I think maybe, I don't know, but whatever they're grabbing onto there, it's absorbing into the gold, and it takes 20 years. And so what they do is they pull out the cyanide, or they pull out the gold and cyanide in a solution, and then they have like a carbon and carbon process where they separate the cyanide and the gold, and then they do like the float where they float the gold on top of this like nasty water, and then they scrape it off, and then it goes through this filter press, and then it gets refined down to this like liquid gold. And then they have a van, armored car, come and get it like once a month. And it's pretty cool. Show up on site when the armored car's there, and they're, you know.
No, that's so. I know out here they had a big mining operation, and I went out and talked to him, and they had the gigantic leach pads, and I guess I don't know what they're made out of, but the way he kind of explained it was, I guess the cyanide or something's on there, and it goes down into a funnel, and then it went down into these other great collection plates, and I thought he said they were copper plates or something, and then they take the copper plates and they ship them to Idaho to have them processed and stuff like that. And I asked him one time, like, so their bonds are like $5 million just for their
Yeah,
bond. And so I said,
yeah,
if your bond's that, how much gold you're pulling out? He said the amount of gold they're pulling out is astronomical. You know, I mean, it's to pay five
yeah,
million dollar bond, holy mackerels. But he says, yeah, the fuel and your work crew and your regulations and you know, if you make any money, he says you're doing good.
yeah. Well, I that's kind of my impression is that you get onto these corporate, giant sites, and the equipment sales, that I do. I've been almost on every mining site in the Elko Winnemucca area. In like there's copper mines, I think the Phoenix mine, the and First Majestic, the silver mine, and it seems like they're looking for investors. I mean, to me, when I'm there, and I'm looking at the physical state of these factories that produce gold, and you read the reports, it seems like as long as you can keep finding people to invest in gold, then you'll be all right. And with the price of gold going up, things are happening. Um, and you know, that's that's not gold going up.
No, no. Who's that say?
Norseman.
Norseman. He says, Jack, I got a lot of gold. What do I do with it?
Give
Just
it
send
to
it to me, and I will completely do an assay on it. I say is gold. I say I'll
That's
take care
right.
of it for you, and I'll dispose of it properly. So just go ahead and send it to me. Uh, so besides all of that, like, do you get out and do any like dredging and high banking or metal detecting, or are you just all into this hard rock, heavy duty?
Oh, yes. For a while, I had a buddy that was dredging up near me. Um, I wouldn't say a mining partner, but he'd be up there and I'd be, hanging out and wanting to do a video. And so I hang out with those guys quite a bit, and um, metal detecting, yes. I've got a whole box of stuff that I found metal detecting, and I've got lots of friends in Reading who are sending me fists full of gold nuggets, and telling me I need to get my ass down there, and and so but I have found a lot of gold. I found this big old huge piece of gold like this big with my Gold Monster 1000. I wasn't gonna bring it out, but I forgot. I didn't have the time. It took so much time to set up. And then I also found one time this is crazy. I was actually went to Roaring Camp, and you ever heard of Roaring Camp
Yeah.
with Ricky? Well, I went with my friend Cameron, and I was working that year, and I was in Nevada still, and the project ran long, and I didn't end up getting down there till the like very last day of the week. And these guys have been there, they're camping and they're partying and they're looking for gold all. And I'm telling, all right, man, just tell me where we're digging. That's your job, is to figure out where the gold is. And they're like, man, we didn't find any gold. We dug all up and down this place, left and right. And I'm like, really? And so I'm like, man, that sucks. We just got done driving. I like had my gold pan. We're at the river. I'm like, let's dig right here. Found a nice little chunk of gold. I mean, it was just a picker, you can pick it up. And so he's like, dude, that's more gold than we found all day or all week. And I just thought that was kind of funny. And then I said, let's go take a walk around since I'm kind of lucky right now. And I'm just kind of looking at the river, and it looked like there's this big giant eddy, and I've seen that place when it was full blast, and the river's like 20 feet difference in how high it is. And so I'm like, well, the river's usually running up here, not down here. And so I just kind of just did like this like mental picture of an eddy, and it was like literally right where I was standing was where the like center of the vortex would be. And I grabbed just my gold pan and I just scooped like just a little bit off the top, and then I panned it out. It had to been like somebody dumped a full snuffer bottle on that ground right there. It was like an ounce of gold, like at least. So we could. It was like I've never seen that much gold, and we looked at each other like, holy crap. And I tell you what, we made a football field size hole around that little spot, and we didn't find a flake of gold outside of that little tiny little circle this big. Like if I would have done that, I would have been like winning the jackpot, cash out, and go home. But I spent the rest of the week digging a hole around that, with zero payout. And it's just like gold is where you find it.
Why is that you find it right there in that little spot and nothing else?
Yeah, well, I think that's what drives a lot of people crazy.
But
Is
so
that
we were up here, so where I live at, this whole ground is just deteriorated like granites and coarse stuff. So it just is good. Look, just looks good for gold. So a couple streets up, we're driving down this, and man, it's just nice red dirt. And I said, one day I got to come up here and get a sample. So I drove the quad up there. I filled 3 buckets of dirt up, came back, ran them through a dry washer. Oh my God, I bet you there was like 3 or 4 grams of gold in there. I said, oh my God, we got to buy this lot. We're going to be millionaires. I went back, got 5 buckets, didn't get a flake. Went back, got another 5 buckets, got 1 little piece. I've dug all around that. You're going to tell me this 100-yard patch I dug in one spot to get that gold? I can't believe it.
And how did you get lucky enough to do it that first try?
That one spot, that's what.
It happened to me, and I fell for it several times. So I actually do really well on riverbanks, just collecting up the material that has settled from last year. I tend not to try to dig too deep because it requires more effort. So what I try to do is I try to understand what the river's like during high flow, and I kind of think about it like this: if you get particles falling out during high flow, then it's probably going to be a larger particle. And so what I do is if the riverbank's kind of like this in a trough, and while it's high, it's the first 2 feet. Well, I try to stick to the first 2 feet of the high river mark, and that usually gives me the larger pieces of gold because the water's flowing really high right there on those spots, and then slower and slower and slower as the water brings everything back down to the middle. But for a while, there's a lot of energy being dispersed to the very highest point of the flow, and those bushes right there collect a lot of that stuff that's floating around in the river. It's always just particles just floating around all over the place. It's just not like a nice straight line, and that's where I just get most of my luck. And there's a lot of magnetite there, so I like to use the magnets to pull all that stuff out. And it's just right there, so you could just use some of these little 3D printed plastic tools to just kind of sit there in your lawn chair and drink a beer.
So being in Idaho, do you go up and play on the Miss Lucy claim?
I've been up there a couple times. I did a LiDAR presentation for one of their group outings, and I took that claim and I sort of did a little breakdown of what kind of mining activity had happened in the past, and some of the geologic points of interest. But I'm not really much of a miner. I've got a lot of mining equipment, but with what I do, and I got all these products and I got all these machines, and then I got all these cameras and YouTube and stuff, and I'll get to a campsite, I'll have these grand, this grand idea where I'm gonna be able to play with every one of my tools, and so usually I end up just kind of documenting stuff and doing demos, product demos for people, and so that's sort of the fun in it, I kind of listening to all the old people's stories about stuff that's not written down in books, and just learning at it from kind of the prospector's point of view. Being down in all those mines in Nevada, and it's mining is a really dangerous activity, and once you get into dredging, you're underwater, you've got hoses, you've got rules, and you really don't want to get into mining unless you're safe about it. Um and it always presents itself, once you want to get to that scale, you got to have permits, and then you've got to have EPA whatever and this and that, and you got to have a lawyer and a bond, like we were talking about. Even here in Idaho, it's about $10,000, but you can go to a bondsman, and I think you just put a down payment on it, and they'll pay the rest of it or whatever, however that works. But there's still a lot of you have to deal with the Forest Service, you have to deal with the BLM if there's any Indian tribes in the area. It's a lot of work, and I tell you what, I work with a lot of prospectors, and I've worked with a lot of miners, and one thing that I've noticed is that when you go to a mining store, in general, just the general brick and mortar, you'll find that the product that they sell is efficiency. So you're going to want this machine because it's super efficient, and if you don't want that machine because this, and so the guys will walk out of the mining store with a $2,000, $3,000 machine, and they thought that they were going to learn to prospect, and honestly, it's like putting the cart before the horse, because they didn't prospect, they started mining. And I noticed that all these guys get set up for failure. It's just like, how many guys you go to their house and you roll up their garage, and there's all these toys that they wanted one day, and they didn't realize how much effort it takes. And so I guess my approach is more like, let's get people interested. Let's get them let's get them involved in mining for the lowest possible cost of entry. And let's not even mine. Let's prospect. Let's take a little sample sleuth that runs exactly the same every single time, and compare it with the data of take data of, what kind of gold that you get out from each location, and compare that with itself. That is prospecting. And who cares if the little 3D printed sleuth gets 90% of the gold? At least it's there, instead of getting a machine that gets 99.9% and you can't even get it out of the parking lot at the RV campground. And so I always just say, okay, well, I'm just trying to take a look, with my stories, is that we're trying to focus on prospecting, so that you're not set up for failure when you invest in the equipment. You're sort of looking in the right direction, and you're growing in the right direction. And sometimes when people want to get into hard rock mining, or they want to get into large scale operations, it's sometimes good to just kind of let them know what they're getting into, and then try to coach them or convince them, hey, you know what, why don't we confirm your suspicions if there's gold there, like what you did when you went back to the location and got 5 buckets worth, right? You're just like, you know what I mean, I'm gonna invest in this. I want to be able to see that happen every single time. And I feel like most of the guys are sold the idea or the story of the final frontier, that you're going to be able to take this machine and live out in the woods, and you're just going to be able to be self-sufficient, when really all those guys are really pretty much set up for failure. And I know the government needs gold, but the government knows that they don't need to get gold from the small guys that are, you know, leaving their, you know, equipment out in the field. So I think they're trying to straight, you know, they're trying to choke the small miner out, and it makes sense because, you know, these small miners, they get convinced that they're going to be able to go over to these places, and they're going to just be able to mine and this and that, and then they realize that, yeah, I could have probably went to McDonald's and just got 100% profit of $15 an hour.
Yeah, he's talking about you rolling a garage full of prospecting equipment. You know that.
What's that? Well, I mean, here's my point: is that, you know, you got is this what happens to people is that they is that they don't do it in the right order, and so what happens is that it's they don't have enough money to pay the bills and run a business off of the profit for the mine. Like, say I get an ounce of gold, I get 2 ounces of gold. Well, that's great, but how many dollars in gas and how much time did you spend for those 2 ounces of gold? And then they're like, well, it took me 4 weeks, and you say, okay, well, that's $4,000 for it. So, okay, $1,000 an hour. Okay, and then minus your gas, minus this, minus that. Okay, now you're back down. Okay, now you're back to about $10 an hour. You know, and so it's like, oh, that, you know, it's not as profitable. So my you know, my thought is that if the government is sort of, you know, adding rules and regulations, and they're trying to restrict all these people from growing into a larger mining company, then it's going to be harder and harder to get out there. It's going to be, you know, you're going to have all these fishermen turning you in. You're going to have all these conservation groups turning you in, and so that's kind of the biggest struggle is that there's just a lot of people going out there buying equipment, getting convinced that they're going to be able to just be this millionaire day one. They're going to get up there, going to run out of money. They're going to leave their equipment. They're going to leave their pipes. They're going to leave their sluices. They're going to leave their trailers. And then the Forest Service has to clean it up. And they're just going to shut the gates and not let us back in there. And that's why, is because these guys are set up for failure. And I guess that was my point. I just kept getting interrupted by text and forgetting what I'm talking about.
No, I don't know if we'll ever really pay for our equipment, but some of us just like to collect mining equipment just because it's cool. And but no, you mentioned earlier, when you're out looking for gold, you're a prospector, and once you locate it, then you become a miner.
Yeah, and so if you walk into a prospecting shop and you want to learn about prospecting, and you're leaving with mining tools, you know, that's the issue. You know, you should be leaving with books. You should be leaving with gold pads. You should be leaving with testing tools. You should be leaving with scientific equipment, not mining tools.
Half these people in this chat room are all gold prospectors that love to collect equipment, and I know a few of them that's got garages full, me included, have more, because we like it all. I got like 10 dry washers, dredges, high bankers. You know.
No, and you know, what I mean, if that's the case, then, you know, that's perfectly fine, because that's you know, and that's what you want to spend your time doing. You know, we're all just kind of, you know, hanging out and enjoying the ride.
Well, see, it's like guitars. I like to collect guitars, you know, but
yeah, I saw your collection back there.
Oh, it's like, but hey, if I got a buddy that calls me and says, hey, let's go dredging, I got a dredge, I'm ready to go. They say, hey, let's go metal detector, I got a metal detector, and I'm ready to go. So I got whatever I need to go prospecting.
Yeah, and I am also guilty of that. There's a whole shed behind me right now that's completely packed, full of pumps and sluices and mining tools and everything that I've collected over the years for testing and projects and mining. But it's just sitting there, you know.
He collects ex-wives. Hey, Norseman, I'll sell you my equipment for some gold. Just get a hold of me. We'll talk, man. I got like 8 detectors, you know, but
Well, it. I guess if you don't mind me asking, what's your favorite
on what?
detector?
My
Oh,
favorite.
just your favorite piece of equipment that you use for gold mining or
Well, you
prospecting.
know, once upon a time, I hated metal detecting. I used to go out and dry wash because I'm in Arizona, so I'm a big dry washer fan.
Uh,
And for years, I dry washed, and I used to have a claim, and all these people would come in and they would metal detect. So one time, me and a buddy, we took sackfuls of BBs and drove around and just threw them all over the claim just to
oh,
keep these metal detector people off.
oh
Well,
man.
over the years, I have learned, you know what? I would rather metal detect rather than that. So I've got a 6,000 that is paid for itself. I've got a
Really?
gold monster that is paid for itself with the amount of nuggets that I have found. So I love metal detecting, whether it's treasures or whether it's, I'd probably rather look for treasures, Spanish
Yeah,
treasures or anything like that rather than gold. But
sure,
I enjoy metal detecting. So
sure. Yeah, treasure hunting's fun. That's fun. Clues and
yeah,
you know
Utah
the
had that treasure hunt a couple months ago. The Moon Lake Rendezvous. The Superstitions got one here in a couple of weeks. The Superstition Dutch Hunters Rendezvous. So I'll be at that.
hmm,
So but yeah, I enjoy that. But like I said, the clues and getting it's basically I think getting out in the outdoors and just go playing. You're
yeah.
one with the nature, you're exploring, you're seeing new stuff, you don't always find gold, but it's the camaraderie, it's the getting out, and it's just having fun.
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes necessary to get out of town and leave your worries behind.
That's a good one. I know you're an hour earlier or later than we are, so you probably haven't even ate yet, huh?
Yeah, I got a lot of things happening right now. I got a kid coming home from school, or
Yeah,
I got.
so we'll let you go and all that stuff.
Okay.
And we appreciate you taking some time and hanging with us and showing us some of that product. You got some really good, cool products. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, like, are you on YouTube, Facebook? How can anybody
Yeah,
reach out to you?
yeah. So, miningmagnets.com is the website that I interface with the public, and there's also a YouTube channel called Mining Magnets, and I've got, it's been a long time since I posted, but I used to do a lot of prospecting videos and videos of map making. If you look online, you can see how to put LiDAR on Google Earth. That's a really popular video. I got some dredging in Idaho videos on there. And I most of my, I appear mostly on other people's videos. I like to interact with other YouTubers and bring product and and learn about what they do and kind of let them put me on the internet. I I spent so much time working and keeping the printers running that it's just so cumbersome to be able to post videos and try to ride the algorithm. I just would much rather drive to visit somebody and just
No,
say hi.
I appreciate it. I appreciate using that piece of equipment. I think it's a game changer. I enjoy it. I love it, and I'll continue to use it. And I got some good plans in the future. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some videos of you using it on that 5-gallon bucket of black sands. I mean, you could do like a lawn mowing video, or you just go mow your lawn and let that thing run in the corner.
well, when I got back from dredge camp, there was so much black sands. I took all my concentrate, literally a 5-gallon bucket, and I dumped them all over a tarp. And then I took one of them Harbor Freight big magnets and rolled
Yeah.
over it to try to get all that black sand out of it. So
Well, that's not a bad first pass. You could use that Harbor Freight magnet to yank all the magnetite off and then run it through the machine right here, and that should do a reverse sort and leave what you grabbed with your other magnet, and
yeah.
then take out the magnetite from that. Um,
No,
just
I
a
mean,
thought.
well, what I learned is that black sand has such fine gold in it that
Oh
was
yeah.
impossible to pan. And so it's just
Yep.
sat there. And like I said, I played with mercury. I used that in the pans to collect the gold, but using this thing is totally different. I mean,
Yeah.
I did the little video that just showed the tub full of that, the cone full, and yet the little bit of gold I got. But yet, well, what did I have to do to get that gold? Run it through that and then run it through the Boss Buddy, and I got that little bit of gold, and I just let it basically do its thing.
Yeah.
So,
No, and that's kind of the idea, to take the guesswork out of it and just kind of let it run. I'm glad that you're using the product and you like it. Keep the feedback coming, and I actually have a visit going down to like the Las Vegas area. I've got a customer out there. He's got a big giant lab. He wants me to work on a special magnet for him. And so I saw that your address is sort of close to that within like 2 hours, I believe,
we're about an hour and a half from Vegas.
hour and a half. So
Yeah.
I was thinking if I ever end up going down that way, which might be in the next couple months, I'll just drop you a line and we could get together. I think that I'd like to try that dry washing machine, separate the black sand out of that. So if you could help me make that work, that'd be a great collaboration.
I'll take you out in the desert and let you use a shovel and run it through that dry water. But now, what if you took that magnet thing you got there, and when it comes out, it immediately just dumps right into the Boss Buddy and then runs all at the same thing,
Right?
Set it
Yeah.
and leave it.
Yeah, set it and forget it, I don't know if I'm allowed to use that term, it's probably
Yeah.
trademarked, but
That's cool.
yeah, let's do that. Let's stay in touch, and I haven't been able to see the chat because I don't have the other device hooked up, but hi everybody in the chat. I'll
All right.
go back and read through everything. If you guys want to leave some comments for me, I'll try to reply to them. Check out my YouTube video. I got a ton of different inventions and machines that I made over the years that I still got up there. So yeah, feel free to stop by.
That's an amazing piece of equipment. Great job. Okay, so parting piece of advice. What probably your best piece of advice you'd give anybody maybe wanting to start out prospecting or wanting to get into the hobby or anything? What's your best piece of advice to give someone?
I would say to start with the maps. I mean, if it really boils down to do your research, doing your research, look at the maps, compare data, try to cross-reference data. I mean, other than that, what's best advice?
Give me your gold.
Here we go. There's more. You stepped over more gold in one day than you'll ever find in your life.
That amazes me when people say, yeah, I'm going to Alaska to get gold. Dude, you're going to have pass over so much gold just to get to Alaska.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story of the Carlin gold deposits. Everybody went all across all the way to the California gold rush, walked right across right across the streets of gold,
Yeah, they
but
left Georgia and North Carolina and all the gold belts to come out here when they had it right there. Yeah.
yeah, it's media, it really worked.
All right, man. Hey, we appreciate you taking some time and hanging with us and showing the products, and we'll stay in touch, buddy. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Talk to y'all later.
Okay. See y'all, man. Take care.
Bye.
Okay. See you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Cool. So we thank old Colter hanging that. He does got some cool products. Miningmagnets.com if anybody wants to go.
Which
Okay.
is it for her? This one or this
It would be this one here, I think. Well,
one? Yeah, he's
yeah, no. So, okay. So Herb asked a question about what?
about what the camping fees are.
Camping fees. Well, he's a
He's an
adventure member. So,
they're done.
well, so nightly I think is $20
Yeah.
a night.
Yeah.
But if you do it monthly, it's cheaper monthly. I think monthly I think it was $260 or something, which
Something like
and then
that.
plus your electric, and that comes to like $9, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, but
$9
I
a night or
thought
something.
maybe he was asking about the extravaganza.
Oh, extravaganza. If anybody's interested in the extravaganza, give Lisa a call. I know a couple people were going to do that.
Yeah, 928-231-7548. Also, I just got Buck Rackley took 2 numbers for the wheel.
Oh yeah, we're doing the wheel. So anybody's interested, we'll post that pictures in the morning. That's 55 spots
At $33.
$33. And what that is all types of product. You got your gold. Give me that list right there. I'll give a couple ideas what that is. So there's 3 metal detectors. There's a drone. There's some of these smart watches, walkie-talkies. There's like 10 gold backs, panning kits, 3D mini sluice things, 12-volt things. These are a lot of the materials that they have sent to me, a leaf blower to demo, to test or do videos with. So they may have been used, one time or did a video with or something, and they've all been reboxed up. And so those are all going to be on the wheel with a bunch of other stuff too. So you guys here now are just getting a jump start at that. 55 spots, $33 a spot. Gold Fever Adventures at yahoo.com, or you can call Lisa with the CC card, and I'll post the pictures and all that tomorrow. So you guys here, if you want to get a jump start, you guys can just
start tonight. Yeah,
get the jump start.
And Roland and I will contact you when we're done here.
Trevor Mack, Thomas. So all you guys, appreciate all you guys hanging with us. Got a lot of info from old Colter there. I've got to go find an outro song. Where's an end song at?
End song, this one.
That one?
That one says end song.
Yeah, but I was looking at what's this one say. Let's just play this one here.
That's an open song.
But we'll do it anyways. All right. So anyways, you guys, what's this? Open video? I don't know which one is. They all say open on it. That's the only one that says I'm going to do this one here. There's another one that says open.
There's another one down further.
Where?
Just go down further.
Go down further?
I'm pretty sure there was one that said end down here.
I think I moved them all up in
did
the
you?
air.
Oh.
Yeah. So we'll just grab a song. Anyways, you guys all take care. Appreciate all you guys hanging with us. So please like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Gold Fever Adventures on YouTube. Even on TikTok, starting on TikTok. Anyways, follow me. You guys all be safe. Have a fantastic week. Appreciate all you guys till our paths cross again. See you guys all on the gold fields. See y'all guys. Bye.
I'm heading out at dawn. The sun begins to rise. With my shovel in my hand, I'll chase that golden prize. Each step's a treasure found, a story waiting to unfold. In a wild and rugged land, where legends are told. The hills are whispering, calling out my name. With dreams of gleaming nuggets, I'm wild and untamed. There's golden in their hills, oh can't you see? Where picks and shovels will create our legacy. It's not just the treasure, it's the thrill of the chase. With every trail we wander, we find our rightful place. From rivers deep and valleys wide, adventures in the air. With metal detector in hand, I'll discover what's rare. The thrill of every day, it sends a rush through my veins. It's the hunt that chased the gold. There's nothing like this game. I feel my heart beat quicken with every turn of earth. This quest for golden dreams is where I find my worth. There's golden in their hills, oh can't you see? Where picks and shovels will create our legacy. It's not just the treasure, it's the thrill of the chase. With every trail we wander, we find our rightful place. So here's to the dreamers, let's go find our way. With gold fever in our hearts, we'll chase it every day.